A third world war is a concern for many people, especially with the growing threat of Putin using a nuclear weapon in Ukraine. The Russian Security Council official was quoted saying that if Ukraine is admitted into the US-led NATO military alliance, then the conflict in Ukraine would be guaranteed to escalate into World War III. The fear of a third world war has raised the question of where will you go if World War III breaks out. In this video, we will discuss the 7 safest countries to be in if World War III breaks out. Number 1, Iceland. Close to nature but rich with colorful culture too, Iceland is a unique place to be. Icelanders are very welcoming people and are always happy to share their beautiful country with visitors on Iceland vacations. According to the Global Peace Index, Iceland remains the most peaceful country in the world, a position it has held since 2008. The country is far removed from the rest of the world, so it could be left out of any conflict. It does not share its border with any other country and is distant enough from the rest of the world. Besides, it has a mountainous terrain to take refuge in the worst-case scenarios. Nonetheless, this place is likely to be left alone even though missiles keep bombarding other countries. Number 2, Switzerland. Switzerland is a dream destination for every person. The country ranked as the safest country for travelers in 2022. Switzerland has a tradition of neutrality, which is one of the main principles of the country's foreign policy. This means the country will not be involved in armed conflicts between other states, so it ensures external security and promotes peace within its boundaries. Although the country shares borders with Germany, France, and Italy, which are likely to take active part in the war, nukes will not be landing on Switzerland due to its tough mountainous terrain, staunch traditional neutrality. Switzerland has also undoubtedly proved itself to be a safe haven during Europe's bloody past. And, even if the nukes somehow ended up landing there, most of the Swiss populace is heavily armed with bunkers all around the territory, not to mention the mountains shielding them from the neighboring war-torn countries. Number 3, New Zealand. According to the Global Peace Index, New Zealand is ranked the 2nd safest country worldwide in 2021 and has been part of the top 5 since 2008. Like Iceland, New Zealand has a very low crime rate, and violent crime is especially rare. New Zealand is another sequestered, yet developed nation, with a stable democracy and no history of gory war conflicts. Its friendly foreign policy gained the 4th spot in the Global Peace Index. The country is capable to support itself in short term, as it has fertile soil and clean water and produces its own food. Moreover, its mountainous terrains shall provide shelter if ever it falls on the brink of invasion. But, most likely it will be just left alone, having nothing to do with the outside world at war. They are open-minded, friendly, and welcoming of other nationalities and cultures. Number 4, Tuvalu. Tuvalu lies within the vast expanses of the Pacific Ocean. It is an extremely secluded and politically non-aligned nation due to its isolation and neutrality. It has a small population with negligible resources, giving the major countries involved in the World War absolutely no objective to attack it. If you did seek refuge in Tuvalu, it is likely that you wouldn't see anyone new for the duration of your time in the island nation. Tuvalu is hard to get to in the best of times, so the 2 airlines that fly to the country probably won't be doing so at all with the World War going on. This means that the only other way to access the country is by boat. It is unlikely that one of the sides in World War III will divert resources to Tuvalu, as it serves no strategic significance. There is plenty of food and resources that can be gathered from the ocean to help sustain you throughout the war. Number 5, Chile. Chile is one of the most developed nations in all of South America, meaning that there is already infrastructure in place to sustain the country if the rest of the world is at war with each other. The mountains regions are the best places to go in Chile to ensure your safety during World War III. The Andes Mountains stretch across the entire western part of the country. It's in these mountains that indigenous communities have lived for hundreds of years. There are endless amounts of fresh water and fertile land that can be terraced to grow crops. The mountains offer protection and serve as a deterrent for any enemy force that might try to occupy the country. Added to this, Chile's air masses are continually replenished by the Antarctic. So it may stay cleaner than the nations to its north adulterated by war. Number 6, Antarctica. Thanks to the Antarctic Treaty, Antarctica could be classed as one of the safest, if not the safest place on the planet to go. In June 1961, 12 countries came together to sign an agreement which set aside the area as a scientific preserve, which meant that all military activity would be banned. It basically means that, in the event of a nuclear war, nobody would touch the continent. You could theoretically take refuge in one of the science outposts there and wait for the fighting to the end. No one is going to be coming to Antarctica to wage war, but the lack of resources and the inability to resupply during that time would make it important to ration resources. Eventually, you would run out of supplies and would need to leave the continent, but if you could stay in Antarctica until peace was declared, you would be safe the entire time. You could even go on a safari while you are there. Number 7, Greenland. Just like other islands in this list, it is remote, politically non-aligned, and mountainous. All that makes taking cover and surviving war much easier for the population if it is ever attacked. Like with Antarctica, the war will likely never reach you at this extreme latitude. You would have to learn the ways of the Inuit people and how to live off the land in a polar climate, but it would all be worth it to have a safe and secure place to live during World War III. Due to Greenland's location and size, there is very little reason for either side in World War III to try and invade its lands. If the war did happen to reach the part of the country you're in, you could always hop on a boat or helicopter and head further north. At some point, you will find a town that is far enough out of the way that no military forces would find it useful.